There we go.
Because I know the thing is
Now, since we're recording, I have to act normal. Okay.
That's hard for you, John, I know.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Okay, sure.
I'm not gonna get my recording face on. Let's see, this week I shipped off two complete, well, a completing set to Bill and a complete set to Kung of the Grape 2 development platform, which included the Raspberry Pi and the board, the hard drive, blah, 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 all that stuff. And they should be getting it this morning. I have ordered, I think, 30 boards for the Grape version 1.12. And they were on, I got on the express list. So those should be showing up, I'm guessing, Monday. And I ordered 25 sets of parts from DigiKey. And those should be arriving, I'm guessing, as well as on Monday. Was playing around with the U-blocks a bit. I actually turned it on into full power mode rather than power saving mode, captured all the screens and incorporated them in our GitHub account for Bill and Kung. And I would recommend to Bill that you walk through when you get back to it, the screenshots, and set your GPS or your U-blocks up the same way.
All right.
There's a few settings that changed, and there's one or two I'm still playing with, trying to get the timing to be nice. But at least, because Kung's and mine are now set up the same way.
All right.
And I've saved it in the, and I actually turned on the real-time clock, which was not normally turned on. And it's now synchronized to the 1 PPS, and the timings should be set right, but that jury's still out on that. So,
Okay.
but I'm still trying to figure out a way. I think there's a way in the Uconnect program to save the configuration. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, I would think so.
It's complicated enough. That beast is complicated.
Yep.
It's not just a GPS.
No.
It accepts accelerometer, accepts a temperature humidity sensor, accepts wheel rotation input pulses. I mean, it's got quite a bit going on inside that thing. So that's my report. Back to net. Wake up, Rachel. I'm gonna get kicked out of the meeting. Oh, maybe I have to try a little harder here.
Yeah, and I know, Stanley, you sent me some stuff.
Well, John answered the first question. The parts are ordered. The status on, do we know anything about the boards? The boards have been ordered?
Boards have been ordered. Yep, I should get those as well on Monday. Now they'll have to be belt sanded because the way they come from OSH Park.
Yeah.
That's
That's the way they all came. We had a file of sand,
yeah.
It would certainly be useful if we can get the boards. If anything else is delayed, if we could at least get the boards. Now, if everything comes together, that's fine, but
The boards and the parts, I should be able to put it in a FedEx package and get it to Bill probably mid next week, I would imagine. I'm hoping to have the parts and boards in his hot little hands by Wednesday, if everything works out.
okay. And the last item I had was that everybody's aware that we may have shipping issues come 2 or 3 weeks from now. UPS is likely to go or possibly going on strike. So
Yeah.
Anything we can get to its destination before is a good thing.
Yeah, fortunately for us, we have a direct center at Case here for FedEx. And for me to ship something overnight costs me like only 20% what it normally does. So both Bill and Kung got their things shipped overnight, and it was like $6. So university has a nice deep discount for that. So I can get the stuff to Bill pretty quick.
Yeah, if UPS goes on strike, though, everybody's going to be swamped.
Yeah.
FedEx included, but
Yep. Pony
Okay,
Express.
I think that covered the 3 questions I had, Rachel.
Okay. This is shaping up to be a much shorter meeting. Does anyone else have any agenda items that they'd like to discuss?
I can give an update on citing the Grape.
Okay.
All right, do that.
Yep.
Yep.
share my screen real quick. Yeah. Pull this thing out of the way, close my participants window. Okay. I don't want to go through this in detail because I mentioned this briefly a few weeks ago, but I've identified all the roughly 25 or 26 locations on the Cedar grant map, assigned each one an alpha indicator. And we've gotten about 200, 203 or so responses to the Grape hosting interest survey. Of course, a number of those are on this call today, but a lot of them are not. So I've gone through and looked at everyone's grid square and where they are relative to the Cedar map. For instance, in the A location, which was, yeah, it's like the Northwest up in Oregon or Washington State. We've not got anyone in the exact grid square, but we've got some that's A-1, or one grid south, or A+1, or one grid north. And I'm going through these, trying to make sense of them. A few of them have been, bingo, right on the money. There's one here in California, and those are the people I'm contacting first, asking if they would like to fund their own system, if they would like us to build it for them, what equipment they have. This individual already has the Bodmer GPS, has a number of Raspberry Pis, but he can't do surface mount assembly. So just a heads up that in a perfect world, you guys in New England would be able to build 20 exact identical systems and ship them out. But I'm not sure it's going to turn out that way. But anyhow, I'll keep going on and on to people. And there's a couple here, Flagstaff and Tucson. Well, Joe's on the call today. And then some guy named Nathaniel in Pennsylvania, he agreed to host another one. He was an easy one. I didn't have to even twist his arm. And I told him we would probably approve it. So anyhow.
How do I have to bribe you to get on the list?
Yeah, I have to figure something out. But yeah, I think we've got Cleveland and the Northeast covered pretty well. But and that's it. That's it for my report. I'll keep plowing through that.
One thing on the deployment, if it does end up going RF, we're going to have to evaluate what kind of a hard drive we want to get for the systems. My concern is the wall wart that runs the Raspberry Pi 4 may not supply enough power to run a spinning hard drive.
Correct.
I'm concerned about that because if it browns the system out on an disk access, you're going to be in big trouble.
It doesn't power a solid state drive reliably either.
Oh, okay. I
Because
know
they have very high current pulses.
Right. I know my Grape 2, I can handle up to a 6 amp pulse, which I was intentional because of that. But the wall warts are typically like a number 24 gauge on about 3 feet of wire, even though it says it's 3 amps. A high current load, it droops down below 4.85 volts, and the Raspberry Pi gets very upset when you do that.
So what are the
I'll qualify that just to say it may be running multiples. We have solid state drives running on our AM Dopplers, which are on Raspberry Pi 3s, and they seem to be reliable enough that way. But we had another system out in the field that's Pi 4 with 3 solid state drives, and that did have to absolutely be powered by a hub because the Pi couldn't handle it.
I know that the Raspberry Pi 4B on a boot itself, just running a micro SSD card or a micro SD card, pulls about 1.5 amp pulse. Because I've watched the current profile. Probably what I should do is profile that, the waveform on a boot process, and then publish it so people know what they're looking at. Because I'm set up to do that. So I'll put that on my list of self-imposed problems.
John, one problem I've had has been noise from the power supplies. Darn, switching power supplies are awful. And I've had to use a lot of toroids on the lines from the power supply to the Pi to knock down the noise.
You're talking to switch mode power supply wall warts?
Yes.
Yeah, they run typically 60 to 100 kilohertz, and they are horrible.
Yeah.
Good noise source, but yeah, they're horrible.
They're widely variable. I was just looking at this the other day, and I found one that was putting out get this 48 hertz pulses on the 12 volts.
Yuck.
It's
Wow.
like something it was generating internally because, it wasn't 60 hertz. It was 48 hertz pulses. And
Yeah.
that's something a toroid would not get out of.
No, not at all.
That's filtering.
That's
That's weird.
That one's not gonna be
switching.
powering any sensitive equipment.
Yeah, I'd make a note of the manufacturer on that one, put it on the blacklist.
Right. I think that's one's generic. What I find interesting is things like ones for disk drives, the hard disk drive wall warts tend to be pretty quiet. If you find one, I also have some net gears,
Yeah.
things that are basically name brand that I found a bulk source for Netgear power supplies.
Yeah, I found that the USB-C connectors that usually run the Raspberry Pi 4, the power cables on those wall warts typically are a heavier gauge. They're usually at least 16 gauge. And that makes a big difference
That does too, yes.
because the IR losses are less. So.
The Raspberry Pi wall wart that I've got, I cut the cable off and looked at it. And it's a pretty good sized conductor plus the shield. So, but the wires in a typical C connector, which I laid down here and can't find at the moment, but it's pretty small. Even the little red wire here.
Yeah, it looks like about 26 gauge.
Yeah, it's and there's some, I swear, 32. These are not power, but
Yeah.
there's 9 of them, but they're
Yeah. Everything is about cheap. And then when they get the steel wires in there, those are horrible because you can't solder to them. The IR losses are way worse than copper and they break easy. It's, yeah, you got to be careful. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Or Nathaniel, I have a question to
Sure.
change the subject. Is there any estimate on the time that a digital RF version of the SD card will be available for 1.11, 1.12s?
Hopefully within the next few weeks. So
Good.
Stan Pazerski, who's Stan on here, he's right, yeah, up in my upper left, KD1LE. He sent my team this morning instructions on how he's running his Grape 1 using digital RF. So he's actually doing this right now. And so he's I just sent that off to Kung, and Kung is going to work on getting that tied together properly.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So,
Stan.
yeah. So Stan does have this actually operating, and so does Bill Engelke.
And if it's any assistance, I have the code written in Linux to be able to make a carbon copy image, compress the empty space, and then we could put it up on the shared drive, and then it would be available. So it could be probably a 7 or 8 gig download, but it won't be the 32 or the 64 gig image that you'd get with the SD card.
Yeah.
So
And I should
it's there if
say-
you want it.
Yeah, it's probably been said before, but I'll say it again. The plan is that if you're currently running a Grape 1 running FL Digi, we want you to keep running that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, if you have a working system, don't break it. For
Right.
the new digital RF thing, we're gonna get you new hardware.
These are absolutely, these are definitely duplicate systems, and we guys up here in New England are swimming in Grape 1.12s.
Great. And yeah.
On
So
that
I'm sorry,
subject,
I'm
though,
sorry I was late. I was on an engineering telecon that started at 9 a.m. and ran over. We were talking about doing the installation for the new ham radio station here. So it's coming along.
That's
Very
important.
exciting. It is important. There's so many details and little things that need to be covered, but it's moving. So I'm glad. So I don't know, Rachel, is there anything important I missed that you want to summarize?
You missed the grape update.
And we assigned
Okay.
everything to you, Nathaniel.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I'm gonna leave the country tomorrow then.
Do tomorrow.
Yeah. Are you done yet?
Stan, Stan had a comment back there a minute ago. What were you gonna say, Stan?
Well, just in line with the SD card issue. And maybe what complicates this, I know Gary has now mentioned that some people will have their own, maybe their own GPS DO. Some set of instructions needs to go along with that to deal with whatever a site may have, I guess. Now that's gonna have to be from the people who are doing the programming, because they're the only ones that know what's gonna be on that card, I guess, but there needs to be
When you
some
said-
set of instructions for maybe setting up the GPS DO or whatever. That's gonna be different depending on what package you get.
If you're running two grapes in parallel, Leo Bodnar will drive them fine. But the only trick is you want the cable lengths from the splitter to be the same length.
Yeah,
Other than
I
that,
thought we were talking about using one grape and splitting the audio chain as opposed to splitting the GPS RF chain.
well, if depending on how they set these things up, if they got an existing FL Digi system running, obviously. Well, actually, you're right. You could split it at the audio. You're right. Never mind. Brain freeze. Pushing too
Yeah,
hard.
if you're splitting GPS, I wouldn't worry too much about cable lengths after the splitter. And
No,
when
I'm
it's
talking
a-
about the output of the square wave.
Right.
I have
Um,
noticed that if you make them different lengths, the waveform gets pretty wonky.
oh, yeah.
That's what I'm after, is
Well,
keep the edges the same.
That must be because of the input of the
Well-
grape isn't 50 ohms.
Well, the other way to do that, John, is to, well, no, do they all terminate at 50 ohms or are they high impedance?
It's like 700 ohms.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
okay.
that's the reason that
Well, the problem is if you put 250 ohms in parallel, you get 25, and then the Leo
Well,
Bodnar
what I'm trying to say is that if you can run it distributed and terminate it at the end, that gives you the best waveform.
that's
Run high, you can put multiple high impedance loads along a cable and then terminate it at the very end. And you get a clean waveform.
Well, I've found that versus running a parallel splitter at the Bodnar split works better because the reflection lengths are the same. Whereas if you have the serial, you have reflection off each node, and then you get twice the least distance, and they bounce around.
with the,
Well,
with the
that's what I'm
cable
saying, is if you're
unterminated, it should
terminated,
be
you
the
don't
same.
have reflections. So it doesn't matter where it is, you're just a few nanoseconds apart. It's the difference between, parallel termination and series termination. You're using series and that does work and that's a reasonable way to do it. But it does put more load on the driver.
Yep.
So you might not get as clean a rise time.
Actually, I expect it to be clean.
Well, it's gonna be
Of the
slow.
reflections.
Reflections, yes. Rise time, no.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
Good.
more than one way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're trying to do.
I have another question.
Go for it.
This is concerning a new image and a new way of collecting the data using digital RF. And setting that up in a Grape 1.12. I'm as an ex-product manager, I'm concerned about details of this project, and one of which is documentation. And I'm wondering if there's anyone assigned to write documentation for this. In the past, there's been the famous 77-step document, which John wrote, and I think that's a wonderful document. 77 steps is not, I mean, that's fine. You get right down to the details. But Is there someone doing something similar for the new image? Or would it be exactly the same? I don't know.
I haven't really thought about that, but that's a good point. So I guess I'll tell you how I'm thinking this is going so far, and then we can modify that as needed. So my understanding is Stan is working with Kung, so that Kung understands how the digital RF image works. And Kung is going to replicate that here at the University of Scranton. And Kung is also working with Bill Engelke to make sure the uploading system is going correctly, so that the digital RF data is getting properly uploaded to his system, up to Bill Engelke's system. Once Kung has that worked out, Kung would make the digital RF images for each of the receivers, and then basically make sure they're good to go. And then I guess those images could go up to the Grape group for integration. If you're making the physical things, I don't have someone assigned to doing that documentation yet. That's something we could possibly assign to Kung. He could be the support engineer for this. It's something we could assign to a volunteer. I'm open to suggestions.
Well, being George, you're going to be walking through it. Could you take a first stab at it?
I would feel woefully inadequate to do that.
Well, sometimes breaking something down and then having it wrong is easier to correct than not having anything at all.
Well, I don't have an image and I don't know how to install the new one. You're gonna have to teach me that.
Yeah,
It should be just a card copy and plug it in and it flies. But there's going to be setup for it. Yeah, I see what you're getting at.
I think there needs to be a lot of, I'd like to see a lot of communication between Kung and the New England Grape Group and Bill Engelke. So Kung, how do you feel about all this? Where do you think you would be comfortable?
I'm not sure if I will be able to work on the documentation like you mentioned, because like with the current workload, I don't think I will be able to fit that into the.
Yeah, the Grape 2 is going to overload him pretty quickly here. Trust me.
Okay. I see. Let's see here. So-
Lisa should be getting a package like in the next 4 minutes.
Okay, so Kung's gonna be working very hard on the Grape 2.
Is John's 77-step document a starting point where you would say, okay, you do a copy paste and then edit, or are we? need to
No, it's a
start from
complete
scratch?
digital RF. It's a completely different beast. And
Well, I do think though that even with the Grape 2, understanding the digital RF with the Grape 1 is really important also, because it's the same format. So basically the Grape 2 should be like a superset of the Grape 1. And I've also said to Kung that the most important thing right now is making sure we have data collection for the October eclipse. So that might mean, dropping some, if we have to prioritize getting this Grape 1 deployment done before we get the Grape 2 out, maybe that's what we need to do. And Kung may have to focus more on that for the moment.
or we find somebody else to do it.
Yeah, or we find somebody else to do it. But between Kung and Stan, and those are the people who are going to be running the Grape digital RF, Grape 1 digital RF versions right now. Is there anyone else who is up to speed with this sort of thing.
Well, Stan, you've got digital RF running?
Yes. I mean, the write-up for that, if the image is something that, well, hate to say plug and play, the only thing that you should have to do, there's a configuration file that determines what gets uploaded and when and where you're storing things. I mean, there shouldn't be a lot if the image is complete up to that.
What about Bill Engelke's getting started document? Can you start from
Well,
there?
but that's all changed because the uploader changed.
Okay,
Well, the document could be a start, but the whole uploader has changed.
I see.
So could that document be used as a base and edited to reflect the changes?
Sounds a good starting point to me.
Yeah, because only one section is, maybe two sections are on the uploader. So yeah, that probably could be. It goes a lot into creating your accounts on UA and, you know, how to define your system and things like that. Those should all be
Cool.
the same.
Yeah.
The knowing how the uploader is going to work, we can't do anything till we know how that's going to be set up. To
Well, we can't
change
call
that.
it finished, but that would be section something.
Yeah, I mean, that document is pretty complete. It's like 30 pages. But
I think,
Good.
yeah, I think Kung is the first person to work on this because Kung has essentially direct access to Bill Engelke's server. And Kung also is tasked with setting one of these things up and making sure it works. So I think and even with the Grape 2, like we need to make sure this Grape 1 loader works correctly before, you know, we can move on to the Grape 2. So I think even if there's a package coming in the mail for Kung, I think he should focus on making sure he gets a digital RF Grape 1 system working here at Scranton as soon as possible. And then perhaps maybe he can outline some steps. If he outlined the basic steps to making it work, would there be someone in the New England Grape group who would take his instructions, try it out, and then edit it
Yes.
to something that could be that full document?
Yes, I will do that. If Kung provides like a bulleted list or a bulleted progression, I can
Mhm.
flesh it out.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Kung, would you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I also think I offered this a week ago to Stan, but I'm gonna offer it again. I do have some travel money available so that Kung and another student could go up in person to the Massachusetts area for, you know, anywhere from 1 to 4 days or something. And so if the New England Grape Group were amenable, and we thought it might make sense, you could potentially have a couple days of in-person meetings to try to hammer these things out. I could, and if you wanted like meeting space, I could ask Phil Erickson if you guys could meet up at the Haystack Observatory. And Bob's what?
With just the number, we don't, we got.
You're
space,
dropping
we
out,
could-
Bob.
You have space. So basically I find that often going into these meeting in person is often much more efficient than meeting 1 hour a week over Zoom. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I could absolutely support Kung and the student he's working with, Rob and Majid. I could easily send them up for anywhere from 1 to 5 days to meet with you to try to hammer some of these things out.
As long as I'm in favor of this, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Nathaniel, on the face-to-face. And
Okay.
But I will only be available after the 24th or 25th, I think. And I think, but that's, I'll just say, I think that's when we should think about it, because I have to make a
So
trip.
Nathaniel, what are you thinking? Let's see. So my current setup is the single grape with Bill's uploader. That's what's running.
Mhm.
The 3 grape one is turned off because, I mean, so what are we trying to demonstrate to them here? What would I have to have running?
Wait, say that again. You said, what did you say about the 3 grape one?
Well, the 3 grape one exists, but because of the modifications to work through the uploading, it's on a single grape.
Okay.
So that's what I have running right now. And that has
Okay.
confused well, it's changed the permit. Well, there's issues with saving it to the disk drive because they were sharing the same disk drive, but
You mean it's on a single pie, right? Not a single grape. Is that what
on
you
a
meant?
single pie, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're running a single pie right now. Let me bring up, I only got a chance to quickly look at your drawings this morning. If I look at those right now, will that help me to understand what you're running at the moment?
No, that was all on the 3 grape.
That was on the 3 grape. So right now you are running a single grape.
Because the uploader program, as it was developed, only supports a single grape.
Okay. Right.
The other 3 grapes independent?
And then what you were doing is you were, for the 3 grapes, you then have this 3 grape system. But you weren't uploading it because the uploader wouldn't
Yeah,
support. the 3
there originally was no working uploader when I put that together.
Okay,
And when the uploader finally came out, it was for a single grape.
Oh, you're trying to
Okay.
tie up the leg.
so Kung's, part of Kung's job. Part of Kung's job is to make sure the uploader works for doing the 3 grapes. So one of the things he could learn from you is how to do this GNU Radio 3 grape system, the software, and then he would learn, and then he would see what output that's giving, and then he would figure out how to write the uploader to get it onto the Alabama server.
Well, so
So
he
that's
could,
what-
if he looks at the drawings and the notes there, then we should talk. And then
Okay,
we can decide.
okay, I'm gonna bring up a Word document right now to try to figure out what exactly we need to accomplish, because I think there's a few different things in there. And my
Yeah, I
computer,
think writing it down will help, because from my point of view, I'd like to see a working system similar to what we're gonna have in the field, a single grape with the split audio, or just a single grape and digital RF, because that's what we're gonna be deploying for the Eclipse.
right,
The only thing wrong with the trip is it's gonna be hours that we aren't building grapes.
well, I'm not,
But I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Don't,
well, so that the trip is still an option, it's not a definite thing yet, it's an option, it will do it if it makes sense. So let's get everything down. And let's figure out what we need to do, and we'll see if it makes sense. And the other thing is that in terms of building grapes, I'd be sending 3 other electrical engineers up to you, and they are also skilled in soldering and also need to know how to do this. So part of the trip time could actually be, you could do, as I said, I could send them up for like 5 days, potentially a whole week. The first 2 days, you can all sit together with soldering irons, build all this stuff, and then the rest of the time you could do the software. So it could all be like kind of like a knitting party, but for grapes.
I love it.
A fermenting party.
Fermenting party.
Piece of their ticket
Fermenting.
back every grape they make.
Just don't step on them.
So all right, so you see my screen now, right?
Yep.
Okay. Great. Okay, so let's get the priorities down first. So I think
For
the
priorities
that?
for the, excuse me, priorities for the project or for our priorities for, never mind.
okay, so the biggest priority is make sure we are on target to, let's see, make sure we have a network of ERF Grape ones deployed for the October eclipse. So that's priority number one. Priority number two, make sure. Okay. Deploy Grape 2s for April eclipse. So this is really the number one priority at the moment. And I think the things that need to be done with this is one, let's see.
It's okay. In the new economy, average people are becoming millionaires
What is happening?
faster and easier than ever before. But how do they do it? According to the news,
I just muted everyone. If you want to speak, just unmute yourself. Okay, so order parts. Okay. Build grapes. Make sure ERF software image works. Configure ERF software image, and then we want to send grapes out to stations, right? Documentation, send grape out to stations, collect data, order parts, build grapes, identify stations.
These are
Am
not
I-
sequential tasks.
What's that?
I say these are not necessarily sequential tasks.
Yeah, some of them can be done in parallel.
Yes.
Where are we? Okay, how
This
are
is
we
where
on ordering
This is where we
parts?
need a PERT chart.
What's that?
I say this is where we need a PERT chart. A real
A
PERT.
PERT chart?
Never mind.
Okay.
That was a joke.
Yeah, Gary, how does this look to you?
Yeah, you're right, because John's got parts on order. I'm working on identifying stations. Those things are happening in parallel. I think we need a placeholder for identifying issues and solving them. Just before you came on, we were talking about power supply capacity and noise in power supplies. And we raised the issues, but we didn't solve them, so.
And the hard drive versus solid state drive.
Okay, so this part, that one's pretty much taken care of for now.
For the boards,
I-
yes. For the system, no. And that's a subtle distinction that you got to be careful with.
Order parts for boards,
The board parts are all ordered.
right? But then there's the rest of the system.
You have to order the hard drives, the SATA controllers, the power supplies, the cables to tie in the grapes, yeah, there's a lot there.
When do you expect the all these parts to be identified so I can get some stuff on order?
That's a good question.
That is, yes, we need a parts list for a station kit.
Do we know how many stations are going out yet, Gary?
No, I don't have the final count because some
Okay.
of it's such a mix of,
Yeah, you got quite a quagmire of configurations there.
Okay, so the system parts, that still needs to be done. You're identifying the station, all right, so the build grapes, this would basically be,
That a system
would be-
build or a board build?
so we need to do the board build first, right?
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
Yes.
Right.
That's the
Board
easy
build,
part.
System build. Okay,
Do node numbers need to be assigned for digital RF stations? I guess that's a question for Stan.
I think it's actually a question for Bill Engelke.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Stan, you're muted. You're pulling my.
That's-
You need to know, well, the configuration file accepted or wanted a node number, but you also get a station number when you register at UA.
Okay. Because I can support Gary on the node number assignments. In fact, Grape 2s are going to start with a node number of 100 and up. Grape 1s, I just assigned node number 62 yesterday. And Gary and not Rachel, Christina have that list.
Okay, so the board build, this one can pretty much be. So you don't know when these parts are going to be ordered or available, right? They're already ordered.
I should be getting them by Monday, and I'm hoping to have them in Bill Blackwell's hands mid next week. I've ordered 25 sets
All
already.
ordered. Should be in by July. By about Monday is the 17th. By about July 17th. Okay. And then you're going to be, and then after so you should arrive at Case Western.
Yeah,
Should arrive at CWRU by about July 17th. And then you're going to be, John, you're going to mail them to Bill Blackwell.
yep.
Will N8OBJ will mail to AB1X B should arrive by about
19th, maybe for lucky.
July. I'll put down the 20th.
Now, the other thing that needs to be addressed is the Raspberry Pi 4s are going to need SD cards. I've got the Pi 4s, they're going to need cases.
Okay.
It's put forth in last week's meeting to look at the passive case, which I actually got some I'm going to take a look at. But those still need to be ordered, and the USD cards have to be ordered as well.
I've got 3 of those passive cases and they're beautiful.
Okay. The spacing on the 3 chips align pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so is that for the system parts?
that's system parts, yes.
Okay, so
So if I order those, or unless somebody else orders them,
so we're doing the Raspberry Pi 4 cases, passive cases.
yeah,
Need to be ordered.
Actually, I could probably send that to Salisa and have those on order
Yes.
today.
Yeah, she's not feeling well today.
Oh,
so
no.
Yeah, I know. So she sent an email out this morning. She's not working today.
Okay, there's a FedEx
so-
package coming for Kung to her today.
Okay,
So
that
look for
there's usually another secretary up in the
Okay.
same area that if she's not there, usually I get an email from one of them.
But tell
So-
Kung it should be there within the next hour.
Okay,
To
sounds
look
good.
for.
You hear that, Kung?
Yes, and I saw the email
Right.
too.
Great.
Thank you.
And there's a surprise in there for you and Bill as well.
So, okay, so Raspberry Pi passive cases need to be ordered. You can probably still send that order to Salisa. It just may take an extra day or so then.
I have
Usual.
I have
Okay.
a part number for those, or at least the ones that I got are from Geekworm, model number P122.
Can you send me the link to JCG66 at case.edu? George,
Can I do what? I'm sorry.
can you send me the link for the cases so I can have the link
I don't know. Let me look here.
to Juliet Charlie Golf 66
Juliet Charlie Golf.
66
Yeah.
at case.edu?
.edu. Okay, doke.
Thank you.
So, okay, so you have to get Raspberry Pi cases. What was the other thing you said you needed? We needed
The micro SD cards. Do we
I
need?
just got one of those cases from Amazon.
Yeah, that's what I was looking. That's why I ordered mine from. I'll take a look at both and see which one's cheaper.
Yeah, that's where I got these.
Micro SD cards, is 32 gig going to be enough?
How much? I don't know.
Because I just ordered 32 gigs for the Grape 2s, but I don't know what digital RF, if they're doing any storage on digital RF, it may require. bigger.
All the storage is going to be to external hard drive or SSD.
Okay,
So then I would think 32 gigabytes should be fine.
I would
Because
think
we're
so
not-
too.
There's
Yeah.
no intention to store any digital RF data to an SD card.
So I want to order the cases and the SD cards. And I'll order right now 25 of each.
Okay.
And then the
What
only
other
thing that's
systems?
missing then is the 5-volt to USB-C wall wart that runs the Pi. And that was in question, debating on whether we're going to follow Nathaniel's suggestion of going to a spinning hard drive versus a solid state drive, because the current requirements are drastically different. And it would preclude us from using the wall wart on the Raspberry Pi to run the spinning drive. It can't handle the current. Where the solid state drive, we could get away with it. So that's an executive decision. Is solid state drives going to be good enough? And the solid state drives have to be ordered, and the SATA controllers have to be ordered as well.
Right. Okay, how much? My understanding is the purple hard drives are approximately the same cost as the SSDs.
But you have to get a case and an external power supply to run them.
Right. So,
Which is doable. It's just have to be cognizant of it for cost.
right. I think that's doable.
Okay.
Yeah, Gary, do you have a comment on that?
I thought Bill Engelke had done some testing and he thought the solid state drives were prone to failure in short term. So I think the purple, in his opinion, was the only way to go, if I remember.
I think we should plan for that then. And I think yeah. I think we should plan for that.
So we have an external case power supply.
So then with those purple Let me put this down. So,
So we'll have a separate wall wart for the Raspberry Pi 4 and then the external case power supply for the USB 3 drive into the Raspberry Pi 4 for data storage.
this is an externally powered
Purple drive.
Western Digital purple spinning disk hard drive.
Is that 1 or 2 terabytes?
I thought he said like 4 terabytes.
Okay. I'm just asking because obviously you have to know to order them. Oh, there we go. Yikes.
If all that data is going to be uploaded daily or whatever, why does it need to be so large?
It doesn't necessarily. So I mean, 2 terabytes. It's a lot of, I think, kind of the reason why you'd want a bigger one. There's a couple of reasons. In case the upload link fails, is one reason. It gives you more buffering space, and I mean that's the real reason.
There's 2 terabyte, 1 terabyte with the Grape 2 I can fill up in 10 months. 2 terabytes will give us 20 months.
So I would say at least go with the 2 terabyte.
At least the 2, because that's $69 or $63.
Why is this not?
4 terabytes was probably going to be
4 terabytes is $92.
$92. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just bought one.
Ah,
So yeah, so like a $30 difference for the extra space may be worth it.
very much so, probably.
That's yeah. But like if it were $500 or $400 for 4
Yeah, that's a
terabytes,
no-brainer.
Yeah.
Is there a,
So
is there
like
a speed
that's
difference?
why I'm
They're both cache drives because they're intended for video use, so that should not be, performance should not be an issue.
Thank you.
You still have the spinning latency versus the solid state drive doesn't have that, but with the buffering, you can usually mitigate that.
yeah, like $200 I think is probably too high.
Yeah, that's getting up there.
And
But
we don't really need 8 terabytes.
look at that, the
but
4
if you're-
terabytes free. Wow.
What's that? Oh, there is
No
no
price,
price.
it's gotta be free. Oh, if they're not for, not available.
It's not available.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I think anything between 2 to 4 terabytes is acceptable.
Got it.
It's just a matter of
What's available and what we can get.
yeah, what's available, what we can get, and like
I put a possible case
Ooh,
in the chat for consideration. I use these. I'm not sure about the power, the noise on the power supply, but
well, the
yeah.
noise is external to the Raspberry Pi, so that should not.
Right. Right.
Shouldn't affect you.
It's a pretty good case, and it'll accept anything down to an SSD,
Yeah.
as well as a.
And it's USB 3
Anything.
SATA, which is perfect.
does it include the power supply?
Yeah.
Looking. Oh, okay, perfect. You
You
get
say
3 gold
yes.
stars, Bill.
$28, 29.
$29. Okay.
And you said yes, it does include the power supply?
Yes.
Great.
Sabrent. Oh, that's a good brand. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, USB cables are a dime a dozen, but if it included it, would be nice.
I think
It
it does.
It does. Yeah.
John, I put the only email address, or excuse me, web link that I have for this passive case.
The armor case. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
popping that up.
in a direct message to you in the
Got
chat.
it.
And I just looked at Amazon and they have a zillion different kinds,
Okay,
but
Perfect.
it's in there.
Do try it out before you buy a bunch of them. We've had some questions with Sabra
right.
in their chipset.
Oh, for the US, for the SATA drive controller.
Right.
Oh, okay, didn't know that.
Yeah, we were using Sabrent for one task and we went to StarTech because Sabrent was dropping out.
Okay, because I know this, the StarTech is the ones I've actually already bought for the Grape 2s.
Yeah, that's the ones we've had better luck.
Better luck with. Okay. Okay, another fly in the ointment.
So you say look for like one of these?
Look for HD enclosure.
Yeah, we were using them on solid state drives and we used just the bare cable.
Yeah, the bare cables, whatever, they were like 18
But
bucks.
for a actual hard drive, it may not power it. So you may need something that's got an external power.
Great. See, I can get away with that on the Grape 2 because like I say, I can handle up to 6 amps. So, but the USB 3 stuff is going to be screaming and choking on that kind of current drug.
But Bill,
This is going to have to be this is going to have to be a TBD. Let's not spend too much more time on this.
Okay. Bill Blackwell, you said you did have success with that, right?
Yeah, I've got 2 of them running. But you know, I'm not using them for the Grape, but just use them for backup and other projects.
And then we still need the antenna, right?
Yep.
Bob's raising his hand on that one.
Yes, Bob?
You're muted, Bob.
Bob, you are muted. There you go.
Now I'll try. I've got, I think, a pretty effective antenna that I'm testing on 5, 10, and 15 at 2 locations. It's a piece of wire, a ground stake, and some coax. Seems to work.
That's
totally.
all you need. That's all you need. You don't have to have anything fancy.
Any feeling as to how many we might need, Gary?
Worst case.
No, there's quite a mix of people said they have their own receiving loops and wires and verticals, and a few people said they would rather have ours, so.
Put the source of the antennas down as W1XP. I got a basement full of wire and coax.
Now you have it to an SMA connector, correct? Bob?
That's what's on the.
Yeah. Okay. Just
So
check.
it'll probably just be an adapter, but. My swag is about 15. I mean, that's just looking at the ratio of people, but I've not confirmed that with anybody yet, so.
Well, I've got a big spool of wire and I've got a big roll of coax of RG58, so.
Yeah, the
I'm
tough thing
willing
is.
to donate that to the.
Okay, I think that's really good, Bob. Let's move along here for a minute. So I think in general, then we have the board parts are under control. The system parts are making some progress on, right? Your AFAA is identifying the station. I think for so we've got the, would it be, so if we were to have like Kung and company go up, I want to make sure this is actually useful and not a boondoggle. I'm not sure that we can figure that out just yet.
Yeah, it's a TBD.
Yeah, I think so. I think the priority right now is to get Kung, I think the priority is for you to get a working digital RF system running here at Scranton as soon as you can.
For Grape 1.12.
For a Grape 1.12, yeah.
Don't look now, Stan, but there's an attack cat behind you.
Yeah, yeah.
Kung, I don't know if you're trying
The
to
cat
talk
knows
to
how to
your-
type on the computer too.
It does Control Alt Delete too.
Yeah,
Kung, are
brings
you-
up 30 versions of some program.
Kung, are you there? I have you muted.
While there's a little bit of dead air, I just got a notice that DigiKey is going to ship my 2 Grape 4Bs, Pi 4Bs that I ordered in December tomorrow. And I looked up delivery on new orders. It's quoting the 17th for shipping. New orders on Pi 4Bs. Shipping only this week, shipping this week or early next week. So I think delivery's catching up with, or production's catching up with deliveries.
Well, I have to admit, I am responsible for the delay to DigiKey because we have priority over DigiKey and Mauser. Which is a really sweet feeling.
Kung, are you there? You may have lost him. Okay, well, I think the priority will be for, so to get a, so I think New England Grape Group, you're taking care of doing the board build, right?
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Kung now has the information from Stan. He has Grape One hardware here, so he's working on putting together a working Grape One digital RF system. And he has the notes from Stan and he'll communicate with Stan. I think he should just focus on getting that up and running here. And then once we have that up and running, it'll be easier to answer questions about, okay, how do we duplicate this, card image? How do we properly deploy it and document it? And Kung did say that he'll be able to work up some brief notes that he can send over to George. And he can probably send George an SD card and he can get that going. And then Kung can iterate with you on doing the documentation.
And Stan, could you send me what you sent Kong, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
One thing, the digital RF stuff comes before the system build. Can't build the systems unless we have that SD card system created.
Oh, it's just a minor detail.
Right, but this is not necessarily.
No, that we can't test it.
This is not necessarily a sequential list.
Right, it's not a.
It's just
necessarily
priority,
sequential.
okay.
This is
Yeah.
a flow
Well,
of
then, if
consistent
it's priority, yeah, you gotta do the DRF software,
It's a dependency.
before you can build the
Yeah.
systems.
So I mean, in parallel, Kung is going to be here in Scranton this week and next week, working on the digital RF stuff. So this is, he is working on this right now. And he'll be able to, I'm encouraging him to reach out to you outside of Maine to keep this going. And he has been working on it. Like he did ask me for splitters this week and I gave him an SSD. I know it's not a hard drive, but I had an SSD available. So he has the parts here to put this together. There is a HF receive antenna on our roof that he has access to. So he has what he needs to actually get a system going here. And he, as I said, he's been working closely with Bill Engelke and has access now to the University of Alabama servers. So he has a lot of access. So yeah, Kung is working on this and he'll keep in touch with Stan and George. I know the Grape Group is doing the board build. I think we'll just have to keep going on these things for the next week, and then we'll touch base. So I'm going to be in Switzerland next week, so I'll be able to touch base the week of the when I get back, which is the week of the 24th, I guess. And
Question,
then yeah.
has there been a decision on building the assembled version of the Grape ones? By us, by New England?
I thought so. We're
So,
getting all the boards and the parts.
Second that.
yeah, this is what Stan's holding up,
That's
So
essentially it, yeah.
Shipping the assembled version on the board, right? That's okay, that's what we're gonna be doing.
Oh, what about the
I don't
Leo
follow
Bodnar
your
GPS
question.
DOs?
What about what?
The Leo Bodnar GPS DOs, you're gonna need those.
Yeah,
Damn right.
so,
You are right.
so,
Forgot about that. Oops.
Wait. We're talking about building the boards and we're talking about building the systems.
well,
Right.
we were tasked with testing the systems, and so for testing them, we have to have all the
I was
station
gonna,
parts.
Yes,
I was gonna suggest we're also gonna need a test plan for the what we call the receiver, just is the Grape, the Bogner, and the Pi, and those, and the sound card.
The
Yep.
audio, yeah,
And we're gonna have to test that, and I guess I'm on the, probably, I'll do the, a draft of a test plan.
All you need is like a
With
100
some
microvolt to 1 millivolt sine wave at 5, 10, or 15 megahertz fed into the antenna input. You look for a sine wave coming out of the analog out of the Grape board. It's real simple.
Well, it's real simple, but we need some levels.
Yep.
So, which to verify, and I think we should also look at the noise level. But because I'm a
Question.
little concerned about putting this all together. We've had a lot of problems with noise picked up in the environment.
Yeah, well, the grounding is not ideal, and the way the thing is all strung out.
Putting the Grape in a box is a plus, but the simplest thing is this. An isolation transformer between the sound card and the Grape.
Again, ground loops and ground noise, that's part of the system design, yeah. People ignore that until it bites
So
them.
we're gonna have, at least I feel, when we put this package together, we're gonna have to look at that. And Stan is working on that with it at kind of a low priority at the moment, I think, yes, but maybe I can.
That's a very valid
I'll be back
concern.
in
You raise
New
a good
England.
point.
I'll be back in New England next Tuesday, according to plan anyway. And hope to have 3 Grapes on the air here before we leave. We got 2 on, so,
in North Carolina.
yeah.
So I just want to get back to my question that are we going to expect to build, to assemble and test each station times 25 or whatever the number, and then ship out the assembled station kit with all the Bodnar and Grape and Pi, everything connected together?
As we had suggested a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
I thought it was decided, but,
Oh, okay.
We never heard back from the powers that be.
oh, okay.
I thought the answer was yes.
I
Okay.
thought
So New England Grape Group will build the boards, yes, and we'll also build the systems. And we were calling them the station kits, which
Yes.
includes everything you need. And
receiver,
plug and play.
it's not
And
the
then-
full
and then-
station,
I'm sorry?
receiver. It's not the full station. The full station is the power supply,
Yeah, Yeah. yeah,
it is the full
whole-
station, Bob.
The power supply, the grape, everything you need to.
Yeah, the
plug it
solid
in
state
and-
drive, the Bodnar, the cables, the antenna,
Right,
the whole 9
right.
yards. It's all got to be done.
Yeah,
That's right.
John, I'm not arguing that. I'm just calling the little board with the grape on it,
Oh, okay,
referring to as the receiver,
correct. Okay, now I
not the
understand.
station.
Okay.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
Yeah.
about, okay, the little board, we can
Little
call
board's
that
the easy part.
receiver. But the whole system kit, the whole system includes Bodnar, all the little cables, all the little power supplies and connectors and sound card and blah, blah. Everything the user needs and documentation, everything the user needs to sit down and set it up. Right? We
Well,
had,
Stan-
the New England Grape Group had suggested that we would package that all up and send it out. And I think we've never heard back whether that's the plan or not.
Oh, yes, I fully accept and I'm very grateful.
So Stan, can you hold up the prototype again, please? I'm just want to show you what I'm talking about. That, so that's got the Bodnar, the grape, the pie, and the sound card all assembled. That's what we would test. And
Very
got the
nice.
SD card in it.
I'm jealous.
And
That
we
looks
tested,
beautiful.
we tested in situ and then send that thing all not disassembled to the user.
All
That
assembled.
looks,
Oh, yeah,
That looks
not
beautiful.
disassembled. Oh, just as tested, he gets it, she or she gets it.
Yeah, that would
That
be
looks-
ideal.
that looks absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
The
For
thing
those
that
of-
adds some confusion though is if we get, and some are not, some are using their own Bodnars or this dual
Dual output.
single grape, dual
I don't think we can,
receiver.
I don't think
I think those
customizing,
have to be separate from this build.
Yeah,
And that number will come from Gary.
right.
For those of us who are buying our own parts, et cetera, and saving you people money, where do we get a parts list?
that's the one of the things that has to be built, or has to be put together. Can't order the system parts until you get the car parts list.
I'm working on that, Joe. That and the sighting things are the only two things I'm working for Hamsat at the moment. So that's all I got on my plate.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Joe, come on in. How are you? Pretty good, pretty good. Good. Anything else? I'm going to Switzerland tomorrow for a week. I'll be meeting with at something called the International Space Science Institute in Bern. And I'm going to be meeting with a bunch of other space scientists, and we're going to be talking about traveling ionospheric disturbances. So it should be a good week. But I won't be on the telecons next week. So I encourage Gary and Rachel and John and everyone else to keep the lights on and do the best you can. Feel free to reach out, feel free to work with the group, please do. Make the best decisions you can. I really greatly appreciate all of your help with everything. You've been a wonderful group to work with, and I think this is all really exciting, and I think it's moving along.
One last executive decision for you, Nathaniel.
Yes.
Salisa order the Bodnars?
Did she? Or
No,
can
I'm
she?
asking, should she?
So I had talked with Gary about that, because Gary, you have you were also looking at the budgets for that, and you know what people need and what they don't need, right?
Right. And I haven't gotten to that number yet. It's
Okay.
probably going to be in the 15 to 20 range. But I mean, we could order 15 and at least have those on the way in. And if we need 5 more, I'd place a second order.
Good,
That's probably smart.
good plan.
So I'll have Salisa order 15 and ship them where? To Scranton, to Cleveland, or say to Bill?
Well, if Bill and the New England Grape Group is going to be assembling them into a system and testing that all together, they should come
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
You could ship them here if you want.
Okay. Hmm.
Mhm.
The logistics of that to the Leah Bodnar side are tricky. I'll have to work with Solis on that.
Okay.
It's not as trivial as it sounds
Yep.
with the international. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it may end up being more straightforward to ship it to one of either Scranton or to
to
Case
myself.
Western.
Yeah,
And then forwarding it on to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
reship it.
We
I'll
won't
let
need
you
it
work
right.
that out with Salisa.
We won't need them right away anyway. We'll be, or they'll be building crepes. I'm working on grape too, but
right.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much.
have a good
7
trip,
threes.
Nathaniel. Have a good
Oh,
time.
one last thing. I am confirmed to do this spiel at New England Exposition, Ham Exposition. So
That's great.
everyone have a good day.
You too. Good luck on
Thank
your
you.
presentation.
Ta-ta.
Safe travels. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.